It's the final day of first edition week, and we ended off with the big bad himself, first edition deluxe Megatron. The one I'm reviewing is from the Entertainment 2-pack, rather than the Japanese release with the extra paint apps. So this one is North American domestic, technically. Megatron, of course, with absolutely no need to hide from the humans, is in a very Cybertronian, alien-ish vehicle mode. Yeah, it's some type of spaceship or jet. He looks like a Ferengi Marauder to me. And yeah, if you just got that, welcome to the Geek Club. We are card-carrying members. Yes, we are. See, very monotone, really. It's almost all exclusively shades of silver and gray here. See, though I really do like the look of that. A lot of silver here on the front section with some gray accenting it, just giving it a little bit more depth and detail. There are purple decos all over this thing too, from the intakes. Spaceship has intakes, I don't know why. And some over here on the backside of the wings, and of course, the giant purple fusion cannon sticking on the back. You've also got, yeah, probably the most noticeable detail, Peekaboo Megatron. You know, it's kind of, it amuses me that the feature that we rail Energon Ironhide for is what Megatron is becoming known for. I find it hysterical that this is becoming like a constant feature on Megatrons these days. Now, as this vehicle mode has absolutely no comparisons to anything found on Earth, it's hard to point out if there are any flaws like gap issues. So now no one can complain about me getting those wrong in the least. Here we see in the back, well, these are actually just the arms, but they do have thruster details molded onto the inside, so these do technically act as engines, which is a nice little extra detail to have. Really, there's not a whole lot to speak of after that. I mean, you've pretty much seen the entire toy at this point. Since it doesn't really have any Earth counterpart, I can't really, compare it or anything. I can mention all the techie details I want all day, but I can mention the few downsides to this. Number one, these parts really don't peg or grip into anything when they're formed on here, so that's kind of a letdown. Those will end up flailing open at the slightest touch, so that's a little annoying. Also annoying is that his center of balance seems to be off, because if I set him down here with his nose facing forward, it does not take much to get him to tip back. He just barely stays. There's absolutely no landing gear of any kind on the underside, no nubs of anything to speak of here. So, I don't know, that's probably the only downsides here. It is an alien vehicle mode Megatron, so it is what it is. There's really nothing else to say. Whether you like it or not is entirely dependent on your preferences. So how about we go to something that we can criticize a little bit more? Robot mode. Thank God I only have to do this montage one more time. Megatron's transformation, I hate to say it, is kind of frustrating. It might seem simple, but he does have a lot of different clearance issues, especially trying to get his legs closed, because one of the hinges on the underside is just a little too big, and it does take some force to get his leg panels together. In other panel issues is the back kibble, which does have a lot of different ways you can arrange it to get it out of the way, depending on just whichever one's easiest to you. Also, the shells in the front actually do form the chest in robot mode, but you'll get frustrated because there are tabs on the underside of that kibble, and there are grooves in his actual chest, which you think go together, but I have yet to find a way of getting them to solidly connect. The rest of the transformation's not so bad, but those problems encompass about 50% of the transformation, so it does tend to add up, unfortunately. In robot mode, Megatron is looking appropriately menacing, sharp, and pointy. Many spikes. Maybe this is why he wasn't released in the US. He'd probably break a safety law or two. Now, throughout this review, from here on out, you will forgive me, as this Megatron, yeah, the shoulders are ball-jointed, and on yours, probably completely tight. Unfortunately, on this one, I can't say the same. I have to do some tightening up later on as soon as I can get around to it. but yours shouldn't have that problem. This is either very heavily worn out shoulder joints, because this is secondhand, or no, there was a mishap at the factory that day. Either way, don't take into account on anything you're about to see in this review. That being said, let's look at the details on him. There is Megatron with a very shiny painted face and a mean little grimace. He's looking very much mean and surly like in the show. We can do the light pipe test. Very good, though. Yeah, completely dead otherwise. But, no, nice dark energon effect that way. Silver chest carried over from the vehicle mode. You can see a Decepticon symbol recessed in on the inner chest. A lot of little details around on the collar. A ton of details here in the midsection. Again, another piece exposed from the vehicle mode. We really aren't exposing any new parts other than the head. Pretty much everything else was seen in the vehicle mode, which is pretty much standard for one of these that has a very alien-looking mode. You can see the knee guards do have extra spikes because, yep, of course, this Megatron needs more spikes, of course. And spiky feet, why not at this point? Very akin to the original Megatron with some of his details. That is very evocative of the grip or the handle of the gun mode. And again, all these different shades of silver and gray coming together to make a very sturdy looking figure. Very armored, very powerful, exactly as Megatron should look. That is very cool to see. Articulation time. He's probably got the most restricted head of the first editions because, at least of the first editions I own, because he can't look up and down, and the collar around his head and the length of his chin and the back of his helmet all kind of hinder things as you go around. No waist articulation. I demonstrated there are fully ball-jointed shoulders, and mine only holds in some positions, unfortunately. Biceps do have a swivel. That's very important. Keep that in mind for later. Elbows, 90 degrees. Wrists rotate as well. You can also add fully ball-jointed hips to the mix. A rotation above the knee. About 90 degrees on the knee as well. And the heels and toes do move in and out for any trickier poses you might want to do. No ankle tilt again, just like Prime, though he does have a slight bit of molding to stand legs apart. So, no slouch. He's pretty much standard for the first edition deluxes. Nice range of articulation going on all around. Gimmick and accessory-wise, you've pretty much seen it this whole time. All he really has is the arm cannon. No sword, unfortunately. That's kind of a letdown. He does have one option, which is kind of strange, but I like that they included it. If you want to give this to another figure, or if you want him to just hold it in hand, you can do that too. There's a handle that folds down, and you can arm him like a normal Transformer. He's Megatron, so I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I don't know, I guess if Starscream's getting his tail kicked, you can give him some extra armaments. Oh well. It's an extra option, so I can't fault them for that. Now, I know between the issues I had with Transformation and his lack of accessories or gimmick compared to the others, that you'd think I was harping on this toy, but I'm really not. I actually do really like this figure. It's got a lot going for it. You know, the only real issue is this backpack kibble, which, as I said, there's many ways of arranging it. You know, whichever one you find best is up to you. This one isn't the official way. I think the official one actually has this up there, though I can never remember how to get it to go there without flexing parts. That kind of scares me when I do it. Just in the handling of the parts, that's really the only thing going wrong here. Otherwise, he's quite the fine toy. In fact, I will show you how fine he is by unfairly comparing him to the Voyager-sized Megatron from the main line. This is cheating. But you know what? My friend Mario provided this for me. He helped me score it, so I'm going to count it. So there. Ha! Comparison-wise, of course, yeah. Much bigger. I'm sure you didn't need my help on that one, but there you go. Truth be told, though, as much as I kind of harp on this one, he does things worse. I mean, take a look at his backpack kibble. Just flailing all over the place. Again, there's a lot of ways of dealing with it however you think works best, but man, it does, like, there's just no place for it to go. It doesn't even fold up properly. And this really does hinder that articulation in the arms. There's just no getting those arms back like that. Aside from that, he does have other issues going on. He's got these, which are floating shoulder guards. In vehicle mode, it's tricky to get these transformed anywhere smoothly, which makes the transformation a little bit more frustrating, even though his parts have better clearance. No bicep rotation. That was a killer for me. Now, instead, he does have rotation under the elbow, but it's just not the same. It just doesn't allow the freedom of movement a bicep joint does, especially when you're an arm cannon wielder. Speaking of, his arm cannon, yeah, it is way inaccurate to the show. He did it a lot better. His coloring is also better, too. Megatron here has kind of a brushed metal finish to give him kind of a war-torn, gritty look. But the plastic is such a light color, you'd never pick up on it. He doesn't have that molding, but then again, he doesn't have to try. He's got a lot more variety in the silvers and grays that, throughout the review, I loved so much, whereas the mainline Megatron doesn't. Just kind of one flat color, unfortunately. So here's the weird thing. I would recommend him because he's still a really nice figure. But this one is marginally better. But because he's so much smaller and so much more ridiculously expensive, I can't recommend him over this. If this one did something hideously worse, maybe. But as it stands, this one's the better toy, this one's the better deal. And it's still not a bad toy either, really. And as a quick bonus, since this Megatron did come from the 2-pack, let's look at the kids you got with that pack as well. We can start off with Jack, who I think everyone agrees is probably the most tolerable of the three. Clothing-wise, yeah, he's okay. The deco does get a little spotty once you start getting around his hands. Strange thing is, apparently wears shoes that are completely identical to his pants. I know for fact, in the show, he does not. And the head is a little bit creepy. Yeah, the mouth isn't painted, so his face looks blank, and there's no whites around his eyes. Moving on to Miko, the most detailed one here by far. You see, kind of surly looking eyebrows, pink streak in her hair. Oh, she has the ponytail in the back as well. So, all 3 bits of hair accounted for. Shirt, well painted. She actually does get a lot of little details on her. You got her little trinkets hanging off of her belt. You've got the stockings appropriately painted. All of the individual laces painted on her painted boots. So why Jack couldn't get his feet painted, I don't know why. I know a lot of people are bugged by her. She's fine. This is where I draw my complaints, because anytime the plot can't figure out how to proceed, this is the guy that clears it up. Now, again, he gets away with the little bitty eyeball thing, but why are his eyebrows red? At least the hair is fully molded, and as impossible, anime-ish as it is. Well, two-tone on the colors. You've got his hands painted as well, and baggy pants molded in. And again, shoes painted. I don't get why Jack has the simplest design, but he can't get his shoes painted. So, yeah, there you go, 3 little figurines. Their necks can rotate a little bit, but, that's pretty much it for articulation. And for those considering the 2-pack in order to get this Megatron, I've heard the Optimus is pretty much the same as the Voyager, just much smaller, and it is ridiculously expensive to get the 2-pack out of Canada or wherever you're getting him from. Honestly, if you can get this guy on his own, then do it. And then spend the rest of what you'll be saving getting the much, much better Voyager Optimus. Now, I was lucky enough to get Megatron on his own thanks to Skating Shark, who provided this toy that I didn't think I'd be able to get. And thanks to him, I could do this week in the first place, so it's all kind of thanks to him. And with that, first edition week has come to an end. Thank you everyone who has stuck through a week-long series of reviews, something I didn't think I had in me. I only get through it thanks to your support, so if you've enjoyed this week, thank you very much for watching.